What is up, my archfiends of chaos? Coming back at you with a brand new video. It's none other than King of the Night 57. Play my shit. What is up, my archfiends of chaos? So back at it again, defending mildly okay games with my red hair and, Spider-Man jacket. You know what time it is. By the way, before we get started, let's go ahead and put some little promotion for Hippity Hop Snacks. We got this good, what is it called? Honey Barbecue Romeo, and then Bad and Bougies. Go get yourself some Hippity Hop Snacks at 7-Eleven so you can enjoy this video fully. And also brought to you by Monster Max Energy if you need that extra kick if a regular Monster Energy drink ain't doing it for you. So, without further ado, let's get to this. Now, alright, we're going to be talking about the good things. Remember, we're defending the game. We're defending the game. So, we can't say nothing too negative, but this isn't one of the most well received. This is even lower rated than Dirge of Cerberus was. So this was not one of the. This is not one of the what you call well received sequels or spin-off games. But it did. To be fair, this did give not only backstory to Yuna and backstory to the world of Xanarkin and more lore to the game, which is really good because then we get to learn a lot more about Xanarkin and stuff like that. And it went back to the way it was supposed to be because the original game was really not really supposed to be about Titus. It was really supposed to be Yuna's story. But, with the last minute change, it got to it. And I think what they did with that one, with the original 10, is they turned to 10 too, so I figured this would happen. 2002 came around. Now, I really don't care about the dress sphere system, but there is actually one certain dress sphere I always use, which I call the original God modding mode, because with this dress sphere I use, the festival dress spheres pretty much, especially with Pain's Assault, could pretty much help you OTK things, depending on how high your level is. But this is easier than 10, of course, following the good stereotypes of the spin-off games. And the spin-off games have to be much easier than the originals, so you can get anyone into this. Now, this is a good game, especially if you're into the feminist agenda. If you're into the girl power shit, this is the girl power shit Final Fantasy. This is the girl power Final Fantasy. So it's good for that too. I think most likely feminists would enjoy this game. Now, what I liked about the game personally was mostly the villain. So, one thing a good Final Fantasy game must have, besides good RPG mechanics and a good main character and a good leading cast, is a good villain. So, I will give Final Fantasy X-2 its due when it came to having a good villain, because Shurian is an interesting villain, especially the fact he's the real Titus. So, a lot more story of why Titus disappeared because Shurian came back. And Shurian had good reasons to do what he did. He was just trying to save his girlfriend. The boy was trying to save his girlfriend, and they want to take his girlfriend away from him. No wonder I'd be using Venegon and fucking the whole world up and causing the whole world a bunch of destruction if they came after my girl like that. I don't blame Shurian. Shurian is my homie. So we had a good villain, but we're gonna be talking about the villain later. Let's talk about the mechanics. Now, I really didn't care about the dress sphere stuff because, well, I get this is supposed to be Barbie mixed with Final Fantasy, and this was meant to be for girls, most likely, but also continuing the lore and expansion of the Xanarkin and Spear and stuff like that, and being Yuna's true story, because no offense, Yuna was kind of overshadowed by Titus. I love Titus. Titus is a good main character, especially toward the end. But we kind of overshadowed Yuna, so I have to bring that out. You know, the soundtrack is really good. I actually like 1,000 Words. Matter of fact, I'm kind of listening to 1,000 Words right now while I'm making this review. So, soundtrack is really good, especially Real Emotion. The very first song in the game. You know, where Yuna starts as a pop star, stuff like that. And I know they're going to put a pop star stuff in it because, you know, this is also a Japanese game, and J-pop is a huge thing in Japan. So this game is actually good also for people who are weebs and, you know, regular people, because regular people can enjoy the battle mechanics and the extended storylines, while weeb can enjoy the J-pop culture into it. So, and Final Fantasy X-2 is really a mix of everything, you know, and it did it. You gotta admit, it did it kind of right. It's a mix of Final Fantasy, girl power, which is good, and it's also a mix of extended Xanarkin and Spira storylines and stuff like that. Extended story, what happened to Titus if you get a perfect ending, of course. You got to do everything perfect, pretty much complete every world and do extra challenges and stuff like that. So you can't say there's nothing to do. This is the Final Fantasy that has a lot of shit to do. So if you want to get that good ending, you know, you do got a lot for a spin-off game. Even more, I hate to say it, than Dirge of Cerberus. Like Dirge of Cerberus had those extra missions where you fight super hard soldiers, but in this game you had to complete perfectly if you want the good ending. You had to complete the game on a perfect one, on a perfect run, which is really hard, but it does give you shit to do. So there's nothing to do, and it's not extra missions they just put in the game just to keep you going. No, this is actually part of the storyline. So, technically you could choose what ending is. You could pretty much choose what ending is canon. This ending or the original ending. So you got to choose. You got to choose what you want. You got to pick and choose. You got to go to Burger King and have it your way for real with this game. Most people just play to get through the game, so most people get the bad ending where Titus disappears off the far plane, but I really don't like that because I like Titus as a character. So, I didn't really like that, but it's a really interesting game for sure, and it's different. And it actually stayed to, and what I like about it stayed to its JRPG, turn-based mechanics, but also made it so modern people can actually play it too. So it was actually easy to do the turn-based because you could actually do stuff. You could actually move around, which is, I'd have to say, probably this would be the start of the action-based mechanic that was used, in Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, Final Fantasy 15 and Type 0. This was actually the start of it. So, besides the gameplay mechanics, let's get to the music. The music, I gotta say, is really good. Even for a game that isn't well received, you gotta admit that music is fire. You gotta admit that music is hotter than my red hair. Like, I could actually bump Final Fantasy X-2's soundtrack in my car and not feel weird. Even though it's a girl power game, they have good music. 1,000 words. Real emotion. It's like they continued the original Final Fantasy X formula with music, because how Final Fantasy, even though it doesn't have the death metal Jax theme, it's still pretty good. I would not be embarrassed. I would go to the hood. I'd go to the hood and blast the Final Fantasy X-2 music. It would not feel embarrassed. It is actually that good. If you don't like the dress spheres, the combat system, or the mediocre storyline, you have to admit that you will bump this soundtrack all the way to blast, driving through the hood. You would admit that. You have to admit that. You have to. I see you. You have to admit that. Now, besides the music, the storyline, I like the Dark Aeon concept because at this point, since Yuna sacrificed all her Aeons to stop Sin once and for all by defeating you, Yevon, and sacrificing her Aeons, of course they're going to come back as Dark Aeons, which is a very interesting storyline. And the Dark Aeons are super hard, so you're going to have to really go back and play extra missions until you actually grind enough, until you're able to grind enough and until you're able to grind enough of the your characters and stuff like that, you get new dress spheres and stuff like that. Because even the festive god modding mode dress sphere that I usually use in this game, because that's what I call it, because it's the original god modding mode, because you didn't need to actually mod anything, you just put that dress sphere on, you're good, and use Pain's Assault, you're good. But in this case, with the fight in the Dark Aeons, you got to collect more dress spheres, do extra missions, go do everything. Maybe maybe this will help you get to a perfect ending, because this game forces you to have to grind your characters. You're gonna have to grind your characters if you're gonna go up against the Dark Aeons or any bosses in this game. Granted, I have not beaten this game, but I already know what happens in the game because I go watch on YouTube, so I know what happens in the game. I'm pretty averse to know what happens already because I went and cheated and watched the whole thing. But you know, you're gonna have to level yourself up, which kept to the original formula of Final Fantasy. So you gotta give it at least that. You gotta give this girl power game at least a higher rating than what you did before. You have to. You know, you gotta give it its due. You gotta give it its, you know, where it's at when it comes to that, at least that stuff. So it does kind of feel like a Final Fantasy game. It wasn't like the other spin-off games where they have too much different of a gameplay, where it did not feel weird at all for people who, you know, people who are only Final Fantasy faithfuls only, you know. So you got to give credit to that, you know. Even though the cast of characters weren't like ideal, I mean, aren't completely ideal, it's still pretty much fun to play, irregardless of the game scores, irregardless of what the Final Fantasy fan base says. And remember, this is me defending Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy spin-off games, you know, so I have to, you know, say only positive things about the game, which, you know, makes sense because I did say this is defending it, which was really hard to do because this was not one of the most well-received Final Fantasies for a good reason, because this was super hard to defend, but I'm gonna defend it hardcore. So, you know, without the story, without just talking about the story, the music, I'll say the visuals are good. The CGI cutscenes were on point, and, you know, I'll be honest, I like Yuna's new outfit, and I like booty shorts, so seeing Yuna booty is a plus to me, so that was good. You do get to see the old characters now. You do see Waka and Lulu hooking up, and Lulu's pregnant with Waka's kid, so you got to see what you got to go to Mount Gagazet and see what happened to Kimaru, Kimaru Rosso. So you got to see the old characters in the game. Now, I don't know if you see Auron except for one cutscene, but I can't remember because I haven't played this game in so long. I haven't picked this back up in a while. I like the Venegun weapon, but I think it was kind of like the Dirge Service Omega. It was just a giant boss, mechanical boss that you could beat. It was pretty much Omega in a way. So there's I think I'm more into the villain that controls Venegun than I am with Venegun. I'm more into Shurian than I am. I like the sphere system because you can watch cutscenes and pretty much, you know, make videos like this by just watching cutscenes to the spheres. So as long as you collect the spheres, you can actually see cutscenes, which is actually pretty neat. So it's almost like a movie. It's almost like a movie. So let's get to the actual villain. Let's get to the villain. Now, Shurian has a good backstory. I like Shurian's backstory, and the fact he's the real Titus puts it all together. So, and you also felt bad for this guy because his girl was going to be killed by these people, by these over-religious zealot people, you know, which, you know, you got to understand his backstory. So, I'd have to say the villain's interesting, so may the crystal be with you. And I've almost hit out of time, so may the crystal be with you, and play this game.